Tell the truth, it's started good. We got to do some more now.
Something that was not on today.
It doesn't. Those are the ones that have been working.
How about yourself?
Yeah, everything is on as it's supposed to be on. You know how.
Was she playing checkers?
No, she playing flashlight. Okay, well, we got a couple here. We're gonna go ahead and get started here because I know this, as the saying goes, it gets late in the evening, the sun goes down. So I want to go ahead and be able to cover all what I need to be able to cover in this presentation. But before I get started, Elder Clarence, can you go ahead and pray for us?
Holy Father, we come to you this evening to be refreshed all the more, because we know that joy and all the fruit is a continuum until the day you come to make it real in a covenant setting. So we thank you for those that are here to remember, but we pray that it's we're on the side and others will hear the word, that they will be inspired, they would be encouraged, and we ourselves would be more engaged in our communication skills that you've given, and connecting with one another and drawing one another to you. So be with us now as we engage in the presentation. In the name of Jesus we pray. Amen.
Amen. All right, let's see here. Now, always first and foremost, thank everybody, especially online, who's present here. But I always like to give this medical disclaimer here. And it goes as such. All content in this presentation is for informational purposes only, and is not intended to be a substitute for professional medical advice. It should not be relied on as a health or personal advice. Always seek the guidance of your doctor or other qualified health professional with any questions you may have regarding your health or a medical condition. Never disregard the advice of a medical professional or delay in seeking it because of something that was discussed in this presentation. If you think you may have an emergency, you call the doctor, go to the next hospital, emergency room, emergency department, or call your emergency services immediately. If you choose to rely on any information provided by, you do so solely at your own risk. So that's just coverage. Okay. All right. The Bible has a lot to say that as it relates to how we should communicate with one another. James 1:19 says, "Wherefore, my beloved brethren, let every man be swift to hear, slow to speak, slow to wrath." Ephesians 4:29, "Let no corrupt communication proceed out of your mouth, but that which is good to the use of edifying, that it may minister grace unto the hearers." Proverbs 15:1, "A soft answer turneth away wrath, but grievous stirs up anger." Grievous words stirs up anger. Colossians 4:6, "Let your speech be always in grace, seasoned with salt, that ye may know how ye ought to answer every man." Psalms 141, verse 3, "Set a watch, O Lord, before my mouth, keep the doors of my lips." Well, we can practice that a little bit more. I think if you're all right, all right. Proverbs 18:20-21, "A man's belly shall be satisfied with the fruit of his mouth, and with the increase of his lips shall he be filled. Death and life are in the power of the tongue, and they that love it shall eat the fruit thereof." So these are some things I just want you to, sometimes if you read through the Bible, and these are some things that sometimes we kind of just gloss through, but you really look at it, they're powerful. And some things I just want to kind of just bring to your attention. Now, like I always like to do, I'm a survey person. And the reason why I like surveys is because it's kind of like gauging what you're thinking and what people around you are. So I have a 20-question survey. And I'll explain to you how it works. It's fairly simple. You rate yourself, and I'll go through it and I'll show you. Now, if you see on the screen here, it says number 1, the other 2, not often, 3 sometimes, 4 often, and 5 always. So I'm going to read these questions. And if you want to, you can keep your own mental tally, or if you want to be able to really just figure out and write down this paper and go through simple math as I explained to you. All right, let's get question number 1. When someone makes me angry, I deal with them while still angry. So how do you want to rate that? See? Question 2. I become impatient with people who do not express their thoughts or opinions clearly. Question number 3. I can get to the solution of the problem without regard to underlying interests or motivations. Question 4. When I'm negotiating with someone, I view them as an opponent. Question 5. I believe the words I choose in communication with another person convey most of my message. Question 6. When I listen carefully to what someone is saying to me, I can predict what the conclusion will be. Question 7. When I'm not sure about what someone is saying to me, rather than ask questions, I'll wait to learn more. Question 8. When someone gives me instructions and asks, do you understand? I say yes, even if I'm not entirely sure. Question 9. Effective communication can be achieved simply by taking turns talking. Question 10. When I'm locked in an argument with someone, I view them as an opponent, and I think in terms of win-loss. It's either you or me. Okay? So, add up your points on that question. Divide it by 10. That's one part. Now, second part of the survey. Question 11. When I initiate a discussion of something important to me and want to be sure it makes an impact, I invite the other person to explain their viewpoint before I present mine. Question 12. I ask for more information about why a particular demand is being made to explore for underlying interests and ask why a position is important. Question 13. I listen fully and affirm that I understand what the other person has said as a sign of respect to speak. Question 14. When I ask questions for clarification, they tend to be open-ended and cannot be answered with a simple yes or no response. Question 15. The best way to get the listening I need is to make the other person feel listened to first. Question 16. In negotiations, I try to direct the focus away from stated positions and explore for interests and common solutions. Question 17. I practice direct communication by using I statements, such as I think, I feel, I need, etc. Question 18. I look past a person's opinion of what solutions is necessary to solve the problem to get to their needs and underlying interest. Last one to 19. When someone says something I'm not sure about, I ask for clarification. And question 20. I restate the essence of the speaker's message in my own words as a way of checking on the accuracy of what has been heard. So the same concept we did for the first 10, 11 to 20, where we scored is added up, divided by 10. Now here's the ratios to look at. If you did the first part of 10, you notice that we averaged between 1 and 2.5. You got effective communication skills, 2.6 to 3.5. You some improvement, 3.6 to 5. We got some destructive communication habits. And questions 11 through 20 is that you went from 1 to 2.5. You have very poor communication skills, 2.6 to 3.8 satisfactory, and 3.9 to 5 are effective. So this is a gauge to kind of see where you are, because a lot of people think that, hey, I pretty much articulate myself well, I think I understand, but I'm going to get into a little bit of controversy in this presentation about content and feeling, because we have to learn how to create that balance. Because some things when we talk to people about, it got to be content. You got to talk about what the issue is. And some things it could be a person addressing their feelings. You got to address that person's feelings. So we'll get into that a little more detail there. Now, the parts of the communication process. The communication process has several components that enable the transmission of a message. Here are the various parts. Number one, there's a sender. This is the person that is delivering a message to a recipient. A message, this refers to the information that the sender is relaying to the receiver. Number three, channel communication. This can be done in methods of delivering the message. So nowadays, technology, email, text, voice chat. Now you got a way you got a phone. You can actually say what you want to say on the phone and records it and send the voice over to the other person via the text. They can hear your voice as you answer their question. So you got many means of being good now. Decoding. This is the interpretation of the message. Decoding is performed by the receiver. The receiver is the person who is getting or receiving the message. Feedback. In some instances, the receiver might have feedback or a response for the sender. This starts an interaction. And for clarity, a receiver can be vice versa. You can be a sender and a receiver. Okay, so they're interchangeable. You can be either one. I can send you something and I can give you something. Okay? Now, here's where we get in trouble a lot. Focus on feeling rather than content. Now, it's not bad to focus on the person's feelings in the communication process. Sometimes we might have to address the person's feelings to be able to get what needs to be said. Sometimes we have to focus more on the content, because the content may be the real true thing that was really going on to stop the relationship from really being better. So, effective communication can result if individuals follow a simple principle. An effective communicator should be able to avoid getting caught up in the content of another's message and get to the feelings behind the message. Because, you know, sometimes, like we said earlier, sometimes people talk in code. No, wait, I was pressed on the same how I feel. Okay, here's an example. How many times, be honest, how many times somebody asks you, say, hey, how you doing? Oh, I'm doing fine. And you be like, yeah, okay. And if I really say, Michelle, how you doing? Michelle said, look here, my feet hurt, I'm tired, I don't work with all these kids all day. Don't ask me no more questions. Okay, but typically what we used to say, oh, I'm fine. I'm good. Okay? So, just keep that in mind.
Brother Andre.
Yes, ma'am.
You know, sometimes it comes to me, I wonder if I'm blind. I wonder if I'm blind. Because it just comes out of your mouth like this. Oh, okay. When really, you know.
Is this we as human beings, which creatures of habit? We condition ourselves.
But how I see it when I said I'm okay if I'm going through this time, I am okay that in whatever situation I find myself in, I'm content, I'm happy. That's how I see it.
Yeah.
It's not gonna get me down.
Okay, that's how you should be. The Bible talks about that. You should be content with everything. Yeah. But a lot of times, if people really want to say how you really feel, some of us couldn't stand it. Yes, ma'am.
I think it's possible. Response outside or conditioning or it's accepting response and expecting responses. Really, hardly anybody cares.
Whether you're
anything else apart from, oh, I'm fine. It's just another way of saying, how do you?
Yeah. Like I said, we have conditioned ourselves as people. Like, do I really want to hear what's going on with your mind? And some people, unfortunately, like people say, do I really care? Right. We should care if somebody that, you know, whether we are friends or not, but as human beings, we should care about one another. But most of the time, we say that's, you know, cliche. It's like, do I really want to show you? Yes, sir.
One of the things I learned many years ago with the lesson going forward, like the Jehovah's Witnesses, I got first to understand their method of communication. And their method from their teaching is one directional. And what I learned to do to counteract their counteracting when light is shown is to listen attentively to them, give them due respect, even though they may not have the right path. And I listen to them, and I know what their response how their response is going to be. They will attempt to counteract everything that of the said truth. And so I listen to them, and each time they want to disrupt, I will remind them of the respect that I gave to them by listening, being attentively listening to what they have to say.
Now, what is content? Content is the thing behind the message. Content is the what of the message. It is the issue or subject of the message. Winning or losing is the outcome of content-focused communication. Like, I'm going to prove my point.
Yes.
Okay? No matter what you say, I'm saying this is how it's going down. Okay? And this is where a lot of times I was getting in trouble. It is frequently value-laden. That means that what I say goes. I'm important now. I hear what you're saying, but there you go. But I am what I'm saying to you. This is what it is.
So their actuality, they're not hearing what you're saying.
Exactly. They're not listening at all. Because their value is on them and how to make themselves look well. It can control positive or negative opinions. Positive or negative opinions. Because sometimes somebody can just lay out something that's very simple and truthful. But if you're not accepting that, you're making an excuse for it. Yeah, but no, I don't know. That ain't what I call it. No, wait a minute now, we got to back up. Okay? And winning or losing is the outcome of a content-focused communication. It's like, I'm going to prove my point.
So, at this question like that, we should probably just stay away from Once you realize it's going down that road.
Well, if you see it, but again, hold that thought, because sometimes the content may be important that you can express appropriately. Okay? Hold that thought, though. Hold that thought. More content. Disagreements and arguments frequently are centered around the content of the message. This is the thing we need to get along about, in other words. And it elicits strong or weak emotional reactions. Hurt or bad feelings can arise as a result of the content-oriented communication. Content is important because it involves work, finances, children, jobs, homes, cars, religion, time, politics, school, fashion, etc. But over-concentration on the content can lead to interpersonal stagnation and stress-related illness. Because here I am constantly in a relationship, I always got to always prove my point. And because I'm always got to figure I got to prove my point to the person. That's stressful. Somebody relate to me, okay? But that is stressful because I always constantly got to prove my point to you. You laugh over it, okay? But there are people in relationships, that's how they operate. They function on this level that, I'm going to prove you wrong today. I don't care what you say. This is what I say. This is how whatever I say. And we miss the whole content of it. We're going to get into this. Feelings are important too. We're going to come back to you. Okay? Ignoring content, however, can lead to confusion and a lack of problem-solving goals with the appropriate corrective action being taken. Clearly, a balance is needed. Clearly. Because if I'm always one-sided and I'll never listen to what you have to say, because you may have a valid point. Okay? Now, what are feelings? Feelings are the lifeline to communication. They are the process behind the message. They are how the message is being communicated. Feelings are value-free. Because when I say I feel, can I refute how you feel? I can't. Think about it. If you say, hey, I don't like when you do whatever in your behavior, that is your direct feeling. I can't refute that. Because you're telling me this is how you feel if I do an action and or behavior.
Valid to that person.
Exactly.
And you should respect it.
There you go. There are no right or wrong feelings. There is no winning or losing by focusing on feelings. Having one's feelings understood and respected by another leads to a sense of being respected and cared for by a person. Why that? Come on.
Okay, I just expressed the thought.
Okay, I'm come back to that. Okay, now, here's something I want to think about this last statement here. Trust can involve when we sense that others know how we are feeling. Now, I'm going to say a statement here that might be, I won't say controversial, but I just want us to think about this for a minute. So, here I'm going to pose a question. How do we gain trust? How is trust looked at? Now, is trust really looked at? When a person's words and actions match.
Exactly.
Yes.
Because I can tell you anything, but if I display the opposite of what I'm saying, can you really trust me?
There's no saying that says your mouth can say anything.
Yes, Paul.
So what does that do for the communication process with someone who is, you're dealing with someone whose words don't match?
You know,
Good point. Right. No, that's a good question because there are people who do that. So what you have to do, you have to communicate the issues and or behaviors in their character that is displayed. See, what happens is, I'm giving you a classic example. You know what? You get on my last nerves. You make me sick. How many times people say that a lot in other people's relationships? I wish you would just go somewhere. Okay? But what really should happen is that I feel disappointed or frustrated or agitated when you display this type of behavior. That's what really should be said. Because I'm addressing your behavior and I'm not attacking your character.
A few months ago, four of us were in a conversation, and as you just mentioned, a person's action and their words should match. That can be adverse as well. And in such was the case in this conversation we had. And the defensive mechanism was applied beforehand, and that was picked up pretty quickly, where no matter how wrong the presentation was being received, the person wants you to prove everything, which not everything is provable. The Bible clearly is that you cannot prove everything, but yet you have to believe. That is righteousness by faith. You cannot prove certain things, that the existence of God, but we can more than enough evidence. But if a person is walking by sight, then they may lean strongly or wholeheartedly on feelings and its relatives.
Yeah. And here's another factor too, the way that piggyback on that. Some people are visionaries. They can't see it. In their mind, it doesn't exist. So you have some things you have to you gotta lay it out for them to see it. He or she can see it and say, okay, now I can see it, now it makes sense. But some people who actually, some people can think beyond, if you read something, they can think and they can say, okay, I can see it, I can envision this. They teach athletes this kind of concept in sports psychology, that whatever the case may be, you have to see yourself throwing that football to the end zone, that person catching. They teach that kind of, they have people, $1 million people that teach these players to psychologically envision. So there's nothing wrong with being a visionary or being a vision. It's how context, how you use it.
That physics.
Yeah. So it's just how you be able to use it. But going back to my earlier point about the trust factor, you notice that person's words and actions don't match. You got to address that. If you value the person or you want to be able to and continue on with that communication and a relationship, you have to look at that and really value that and see how that person's he or she's behavior can be addressed and deal with that accordingly.
And if they can't, you may have to make an adjustment.
Maybe. Or is it too toxic for you? So
If it's too toxic, then
It's still-
you
it's
have to
still
walk
a
away.
choice.
yes, that's choice.
Then put some distance between them.
Now here's go back to the content. Here, focus on the content and communication. It has 3 pitfalls. The first one is the parallel listening. Parallel listening occurs when a listener ignores the feeling of the speaker, concentrates solely on the content. Parallel listening is a discounting of the speaker by ignoring feelings being expressed and added only to the flow of the content, even when it is relevant to the subject being discussed. Parallel thinking typically results in a listener ignoring the feelings behind what is being discussed by a speaker, leaving the speaker's discouraging impressions of being turned off. So if you would sit here and explain to a person how you really feel about something, and in later terms that you continue to just blow you off.
Yeah.
Right. Well, that's sometimes easier said than done. Sometimes it's harder than you realize. Especially someone who has a strong connection with someone. Sister, brother, husband, wife. And you keep expressing, I feel, and I say how I feel, and they still keep discounting you.
But you still have to adjust though. You can't just keep, it may just mean that you stay away from those controversial subjects. And accept that person.
In other words, you say you have to respectfully agree or disagree.
Exactly.
Okay, everybody agree with that? Some people are like, again, goes back to my content. I'm going to get my point across.
If that person is that close to you, you learn to accept them where they are. You steer away from subjects that are controversial as much as possible. or you just learn to say what you have to say, hear what they have to say, and just don't say anymore. Just accept that it is what it is.
Okay, yes, ma'am.
I have a question, and you can tell me if it doesn't fall in or if you're gonna deal with it.
Mm-hmm.
Is, effective communication involved by cultural? Is there any cross-culture? For instance, simply, from a cultural perspective, if I say to you, good morning, how are you doing, before I go into my topic, I expect that I'm asking this a cultural dissonance in my situation. I expect for you to respond, good morning, I'm doing well. We're going to go down the road to so and so. But when that person doesn't do that, that to me is communication dissonance. And I get an impression of that. I mean, so I'm just asking, we both are content, but it might not be cultural, somebody else might do the same thing and expect the same thing, or are you expecting too much for the person to respond?
That gets into the personality of the person there. Some people just function that way. Some people they go straight for the jugular. They don't want the small talk. They don't whatever. Okay, this is what even though you are being respectful to the person saying good morning, how you doing? You think that would be common. Yeah, that would be common. Now you said they have a relationship.
Yeah, you're in a community with that person.
Well, again, it could be the personality of that person. It could be honestly. Look at it. This all I can say. It could be being passive aggressive to the person.
Or it could be if that person has been that way all along, that's just the way they are, and you must let it go. It becomes back to you. You shouldn't feel any way about it. If you've done your part, they can do their part by not responding. It's as simple as that. It really is. They're not.
Some people
You
have
can
that
feel it,
personality.
but it's not going to hold any sway for the person.
Well, we're looking at this from a
Yeah, but you if
we're
say
looking at this, let us look at this, and I want us to bring back, and I know that maybe you're
look, if it's two different cultures or within the same culture.
we're focusing on content and communication with the backdrop as being Christians.
Okay.
First of all, how we communicate in the household of fellowship, that's why I'm sitting here, to learn how best to communicate to the brothers and sisters in Christ, and then how to communicate to the wider world. So if we're saying that's how somebody is, that's fine. But if they're in the household of faith, then I want to learn from you today. I don't care what my personality is, but how can I, by the grace of God, change that personality to become a more effective communicator to the household?
We're gonna get into that because we're gonna get into a topic of perception.
Yes.
And that's where the biggest issue is changing the perception of the person or how we perceive people. So no, you're judging the spot. Okay, but I want to cover this part because sometimes we do have to look at it. But there are some people that we can try our best and they just they are where they are. Second point is jump into assumptions. The second pitfall of concentrating on content is to the exclusion of feelings, is jump into the assumption that you know what the other is talking about and feeling. Discussing things with no effort to clarify feelings can lead to a disastrous result. For example, two people can be talking objectively about getting pregnant with the result that the wife gets pregnant. Unfortunately, the one who did not want to get pregnant has feelings ignored because they were never openly expressed. The ignored person can build up resentment and hurt, which someday can blow up into a communication crisis. Okay? Competition for the controlling of thinking. The third pitfall in focusing on content is the competition for who is smarter, more intelligent, has more common sense, and knows more facts. People who communicate only on the content level can fall into who is best and who is right trap. One-upmanship in communication is often the result of being content-oriented. This discounting of the other person's intelligence knowledge, and common sense can result in alienation, isolation, lack of trust, and lack of respect between people. In other words, don't say nothing. I got it. Go ahead. Yeah, I hear you. I know. So, sometimes that happens a lot in relationships.
Obstructionism.
Yeah, no. You ain't been where I've been. You don't know what I know. I've been in the Word. Can't tell me that. But you're discounting their feelings. I'm just saying, I'm just pointing it out. I see the roots and I'm just pointing it out. Okay? Now, the benefits of effective communication. Number one, you got effective listening. People who focus on the feelings of messages being sent provide others with non-judgmental acceptance. This helps others feel listened to, cared about, and understood. In order to hear the feelings of others, a person must listen not only with their head, but also with their heart. Feelings are the tools by which people communicate with one another. Having one's feelings listened to makes a person feel respected, accepted, and draws people closer together. Well, that's one start. Okay, effective responding. A second positive outcome of feelings focus is a facilitative response shared by a person who encourages others to continue communicating open and trusting. Responses that attempt to reflect back to the speaker the feelings behind the message provide a mirror to speakers to look at in order to clarify how they feel about an issue. This clarification of feelings concerning the message can lead to mutual understanding and respect, resulting in improved communication. In other words, let me hear you out. What is your really true thoughts about the subject matter? Okay? Because the person maybe has something that may be really valid, and you might have missed it because you had this kind of level of thinking. And because you had this kind of level of thinking, you kind of shut them out. But then when you listen to what they were saying, you said, then you got to take a step back. It was like, man, I never looked at it that way before. I never saw that. Wow, thank you for bringing that to my attention because I would have never saw it that way.
I encountered that the negative adverse effect where I know. And in reality, it doesn't match with the lifestyle. There's aversion there. And there are ways of evading that going forward to engage in that. If we anticipate that same routine, I know already, and then I realize there's another issue there, or other issues the person had that they're not aware of.
Let's look at number 3 here. Productive problem solving with effective communication. Effective listening and facilitative responses result in a third benefit of focusing on feeling. Productive problem solving. I know what most people say, you ever heard of problem solving? I don't understand the technique. But what does productive problem solving means? That really means that it's not you just trying to find a solution to an issue. It's you looking at the steps that go towards resolving the issue so you don't repeat the steps again.
And building trust.
Right, well, we said trust is what now? Well, now remember that, you learned that lesson from me today. Trust is what? When a person's words and actions match.
The person is easily defined or identified when the two match.
Exactly. Conflicts and immobilization often result not just from a disagreement over content, but more importantly, because one or both parties sense that their feelings are being ignored or discounted. Productive problem solving is not purely content focused, rather it includes and values the feelings of both parties concerning the issues at hand. By valuing their feelings, both parties feel cared for, understood, and accepted. This provides the energy for for creative problem solving and intending mutual beneficial solutions. So if you get to the point that, hey, we really sat down and let's solve this problem now. Hey, I'm not sitting down with you no more because you're all right. We can, if any other issues arises, we can come together and now I understand how you think. I can really sit down and we can build and we can move forward. Because now I have that idea that, you know what, you about trying to solve problems and continue to build a relationship. Now, here are characteristics we need to have for effective communication. In order to fully integrate effective communication skills into your life, it's important to know what it looks like. Some common characteristics include, number one, is look at that clarity. If you know what you're trying to communicate and convey those points in a way that's easy to understand. We talked about this a while back with emotional awareness. If you're aware of the emotions and the emotions of those around you, this awareness causes you to shift your tone of voice and wording as needed. So to kind of start the early part of your early question that you asked, you got to survey around the person that you're dealing with. Even if you say that's related to the brother, okay, if I know just by merely looking at he or she, he or she looks neat or they kind or whatever the case may be. Look at how, this falls back sometimes, look at how a person responds to other people before you respond, before you interact. Because there are some people, unfortunately, they're just short. There's some people, you can talk, and you can talk for hours and hours, and next thing you know, ooh, man, we're going to be on the phone 3 hours, we got to go. Look, I got stuff to do. So you got to engage, you got to know around what the person's ideals are, so you can kind of really know where they're at. And then active and empathetic listening. You pay attention to the use, and use nonverbal cues and thoughtful questions and comments to show that you're practicing empathetic listening. In other words, don't say the first thing that comes to your head when you see a person, when you see something within a person. Ooh. Okay. Let's see, quick. I was telling my wife about that. I had an aunt, she's deceased now. She had no filters. You ever listen about that? Who has no filters? The first thing she would say on her mind, she would say, if you had on something, you had on whatever, she'd be like, how you doing? Where did you get that from? What possession you put that on? She was just, I thought it was hilarious, but as I got older, I was like, wow, I would have went there. But as a youngster, I just thought she was just the funniest aunt ever. Because she was just to say stuff, I just be like, man, she just having this. Because she would just say stuff.
Yes, I like that.
And you as a youngster, you think it's like, well, she get older, you realize, like, wait a minute, that's kind of cruel and humane, but as a gentleman, remember, I thought it was the most hilarious thing ever. Yes, ma'am.
And it's weird that you say it that way because for a lot of us who are from the Caribbean, I can only speculate when I know it happens. That's how, like, your elders would approach you. That's what they do. If I should go home, let's say, before my mom passed away, if I was here and I went home, and I put on another weight, the first thing I would remember was, Deborah, you're fat.
Yeah.
That would be it. No, you fat so much, but what's me you're fat? It's like, whatever they see, that's what you're saying. Exactly, there's a lot of things. What are we in manga? It's saying, oh, you're so meager, you eat so much on your own. So it's like, I had to learn, unlearn what I knew. And relearn, because I realized that certain things you can't just say stuff to people because people get offended regarding his skin. Where I'm from is not like that. I can say to my sister, oh, that dress is ugly, and she'll just go change it.
Yeah.
But I couldn't say that to Michelle walking into church. I could say it to her, and she was going to say it would be fine because we're going to say culture.
So this is why I was asking about effective communication along cultural lines and along generational lines, because it's prevalent in the Asian community as well, and you see it. what they say goes and how they say we just gotta take it. So that's why I was asking, I know, a lot of times some of my, American brethren kind of wins when we talk about West Indian culture. That's why I wanted to put it out there that it is across, a lot of cultures. It is across the, Southern African American culture as well, along age lines. So that was my question
Right.
to you. Yes, you're gonna relearn certain things, but.
Okay, I use myself as an example. Growing up with hey, you just operate, I call it the New York State of mind. That's just how we operate. We get into hustle mode, hey, whatever. So when I moved here, my parents had to learn how to readjust and had to say, yes, ma'am, no, sir. When I grew up, when I came back, that was far from my mind. Hey, if I met you, I talked to you, like, how you doing, but as my parents came in, I had to learn how to adjust to that. Because, because they grew up that way. And so when I came back, I had to, by the time I got 11 or 12, it was a little bit more easier to adjust because I understood the culture around them, and that's how they operate. Because some of those folks, when you didn't, they would come to your parents, I said something to that child ain't act like they ain't know me. And point out the Asian culture is so intense where if the older picks you up, you can't even look them in the eye.
Right.
If you look them in the eye, that's a sign of disrespect.
Yes. And that was part of the American ancestral culture as well.
So therefore, my question is, you may touch on this. Do we shift our communication mode based on, I guess that's what you're saying. Yeah. Do we shift or
You have to adjust to the culture and or the person, or both.
And the same application is counsel is given in terms of the congregation. The leader or whoever is interested should have some sense of the individuals to whom they're speaking, how they speak, and even wording and so on. To have some sense of your listeners.
Concrete examples. Don't speak solely in the abstract. You use tangible examples to support your points. Complete thoughts. You don't leave thoughts unsaid or incomplete. You try to convey whole thoughts during a conversation to avoid confusion. I'm gonna leave that alone. Okay. Okay.
You said leave alone, but that's
No. I said it because I love my mom. She did it. She said anything, but she does that a lot.
Yes, and I do that, and it's not that I'm not leaving it incomplete, but in my mind, thinking I've said it because I'm busy doing something, and I'll start a sentence, and I'll keep going, and my husband and my kids will be like, "So, Mom, you going to finish it?" And I'm thinking like, "What are you talking about? It's already finished." But
you have to correct that.
yeah, I'm thinking like you can't read minds here, but I do that a lot and not aware that I'm doing it. But I'm thinking like, okay, I've said it now.
But let me tell you how I combated that. It's a simple process. I just sit there and wait till you finish. I sit there, and she looked at me. It's your whole. I was like, okay. Yeah. That's how I combated it. And she realized that. I didn't. But what I was trying to say. Okay, now I got it. Yes, ma'am.
That's the opposite of that. Where someone says something or something is said, and it's like, okay, I got it. No comment, and it's received again and again, like you speak. That is the problem.
Well, that's why you got to communicate that. Again, you got to address the person's actions and behavior, don't attack their character. Just point out to them and say, hey, that makes me feel annoyed when you repeat this thing. Like, if I didn't understand, I would ask you to repeat this so I can make sure I do understand. And we get into a little bit how you paraphrase it, right? Yes, ma'am. Talk to me.
How do you deal with, okay, so, for example, what you just said, you ask, when you say, I feel, as if, or I feel like, how do you handle the response from the person that you're saying, I feel like, that person said, I can't tell how you feel? how you communicate with that.
Okay, how do you communicate?
How do you move from there? Because personally, where I am at that point when you're saying, I think I'm gonna leave you, I'm getting mad. You know?
Okay, see, let me tell you, you just answered your own question because the person said initially, I don't care about how you feel.
Right.
Because I really care about how you feel, I would ask you, share your thoughts.
So that communication, line of communication has been shut down. Okay.
Exactly. Because I didn't allow you to even express anything. Because I really want to know how you know, because if I'm trying to improve a relationship or I want to get better, I want to hear what you say. Now, really tell me how you really feel.
That's why I said earlier, it's wise to listen. And there, more often than not, whatever, be it opposition or whatever, once the person has said what they're saying, then I have a handle to grasp. I have something because they've said it or they've made it clear. By listening, and I will often, they will tell me what questions I will respond to them if I'm listening very carefully before predetermining what my response is going to be.
Yeah, that's how I'm you. Okay, so by keeping each of these characteristics in mind when we communicate with others, you can improve your conversation and grow your communication skills over time. Now, here are some challenges. If you're struggling to effectively communicate, you may be dealing with a common communication challenge such as a lack of confidence. This can keep you from speaking your mind, expressing your opinions, or standing up for yourself. Because some people say, I don't want to feel standoffish, or I don't want to feel like I'm cocky or I'm arrogant. I know one of my good friends, she and I still good friends today. When she first met me, we was in college. She swore up and down I was arrogant. And I never been a part of my personality. I was just confident in what I said. And so sometimes people are confident and say people confuse that. Yeah. And after she sat down and started really to know me, she was like, we've been friends for almost 20 years, over 20 years now. But we sit there and we laugh about this now. Like, man, when I first met you, you thought you was all that. I was like, I'm far from it, okay? But sometimes if you're confident of how you display yourself, some people will take it that way. So you gotta just, it can be a challenge for you.
But those kinds of comments, though, they're not really true, because unless she asks, why do I feel that you're kind of arrogant? That's the only way for you to know. Everything else is a lie. You have to know that is true, unless you're a witch or a clairvoyant.
But guess what? How that improved? It improved because we had a conversation.
But y'all had known each other for a long time.
Yeah, this is when we first met each other. We was in college. She thought of me that way. But after she conversed with me for a while, she realized, like, hey, you're all right. And that's what happens a lot of times. People will take that little bit of time. They have a conversation.
Here's one of what I've noticed that is a reality, that not as many people realize that God did not create any carbon copies among humanity. Each person has their own individuality, and they're not everybody is necessarily wrong if they're adverse or in disagreement. Because the same is applied in 1 Corinthians 11 about gifts, various gifts, and so on. And the gifts continues as we develop. And they're based on and it should be based on our individuality, which is given of God, and not personalities. It's adjustable, but individuality are distinct and cannot be changed.
And you said, getting to know, more conversation.
Yes.
Will help that.
That's what happened. Uncertainty is hard to communicate effectively when you are unsure about the points you want to make. And the last part here, the lack of patience. Your listening skills can be lacking if you don't have the patience to let other people talk. I think everybody there is somebody who can take over the conversation. Okay? Each of these challenges can affect the way you speak and listen to other people. Identifying the common communication challenge that gives you the most trouble, you can take steps to overcome that challenge and improve your communication skills. Now, here's some barriers to look at as it relates to active listening. Focusing on a personal agenda. We spend our listening time formulating our next response. We cannot be fully attentive to what the speaker is saying. Oh, okay, they trying to come at me this way? I'm gonna come this way. I know what they're gonna say. And like my sister said, unless you're a standpoint in which you read people's minds, then if that's the case, I would step back from you. I'm like, okay, you ever heard me talking to you no more? Because hey, you on some stuff that I'm not trying to hear. That's okay. I leave you where you're at. All right. Experience information overload. Too much stimulation or information can make it very difficult to listen with full attention. Try to focus on the relevant information and the central points that are being conveyed. You know, the science came out recently about attention span of people. They have said based on technology and all this stuff, the attention span of people is about 8 seconds. 8 seconds. They said a goldfish has more attention span than humans at this point.
And COVID has made it worse because COVID has made us more separate.
I think I read somewhere that the attention span is determined by age, something like that.
Yeah, and also too, our technology doesn't help now. All these smartphones and all this stuff like that, that doesn't help any. You know, especially young kids. I've seen kids with it now say, I cannot live without my phone.
Kids have committed suicide when their parents punish them by taking their phones. They will commit suicide.
Criticizing the speaker. Don't be distracted by critical evaluations of the speaker. Focus on what they're saying, the message, rather than the messenger. Being distracted by strong emotional responses. When you have strong emotional responses, acknowledge the emotion and shift your focus back to listening. Make a conscious effort not to get lost in your emotional responses. Getting distracted by external noise. Audible noise may be extremely distracting. Some things can be minimized, like turn down the ring on your phone and notifications on your phone or computer while meeting with someone. Other noises that may be avoidable, like distraction of people. Also, there are figurative noise from the external environment, such as distracting or inappropriate decor in a room, or environmental conditions such as the room being too hot or too cold. Experiencing physical illness or pain. Feeling physically unwell or experiencing pain can make it very difficult to listen effectively. If you may wish to communicate that this is not a good time and reschedule the discussion. You heard me? You will catch me? No, I can't talk to you right now. Let me talk to you. You got to take some time now. I have you. What you got to do? Come at that conversation later. Okay. Now the strategies for active listening. The following strategies are intended to promote active listening skills or a type of listening with the goal to develop a clear understanding of the speaker's concern and also to clearly communicate the listener's interest in the speaker's message. Number one, stop. Focus on the other person, their thoughts and feelings. Consciously focus on quieting their own internal commentary and step away from your own concerns to think about those of the speaker. Give your full attention to the speaker. Look, pay attention to the non-verbal cues without letting yourself be distracted. Notice body language. Notice non-verbal cues to allow for a richer understanding of the person or the speaker's point. Remember that the active listeners need to communicate to the speaker that they are involved in giving the person unconditional attention, like you said, they're not sometimes people, you know, like they say, they give the eye, especially ladies, give the eye roll. I No, I roll boy. So, yeah, I hate when he said, you know, those kind of things, I think a lot of times, nowadays, people miss the nonverbal cues, and they say, well, I didn't know you was mad with me. I didn't know you were mad with me. I'm sitting there holding my hands up like this. Got my hand on what case for me. But I know you mad with me. Okay? Gotta pay attention to those things. Listen. Listen for the essence of the speaker's thoughts, details, major ideas, and their meanings. Seeking an overall understanding of what the speaker is trying to communicate rather than reacting to the individual words and terms that they use to express themselves. And I'm going to ask everybody this question: what's the difference between reacting and responding?
When you react, it's going to cause it may cause an equal reaction from you. When you respond, you've listened and you're taking some of these examples that you've already given, taking things into content, bringing emotion down, taking emotion and cares out of it and feelings, even if it just means repeating what that person said. Now, wait a minute. This is what I heard you say. Now, is that true? How can we move this conversation forward? This is what I heard. This is how it made me feel. You bring that conversation down. You take all the emotion out of it.
Jackpot. Even make it simpler. When you're reacting, you can deal with emotion. When you're responding, you think before you say you do something.
And with the reaction, reaction can often miscommunicate to someone that you're sitting beside me in a negative way. Reaction rather than having self-control.
Be empathetic. Imagine how you would feel in their circumstances. Be empathetic to the feelings of the speaker while maintaining a calm center within yourself. You need not be drawn into all their problems or issues as long as you acknowledge what they're experiencing.
And that goes back to what was said before. You may say good morning. That person might not have even heard you because they're thinking about their presentation or they're thinking about what they're supposed to be doing. I have spoken to people, and if they don't speak, I just say, oh, they didn't even see me. I just don't think about it like that, but I try to do my part by saying, oh, hello. But sometimes people just don't hear you.
Yeah, sometimes they have their own noise.
What? Am I talking about?
No, you could. Sometimes, again, some people have their, they have their own things, own agenda things on their mind. But, Sister asked a relevant question, and it's very relevant because now we got so many challenges against us out here communicating. Think about it. Just do an experiment when you go home today. Look at all the things that talk at you between you get home and you leave here. Look at all the billboard signs. Look at all the things and all the stuff that this talks to you. Flashing this, say this, go there, go to this store, go get this, go buy this product, go whatever. Look at all this. I'm going to challenge you. Whatever route you go home, look at all the signs that you see. I want you to know that. But I was just saying, listen, you don't realize how many things that you're being bombarded by that affects all of you. Exactly. Ask questions. Use questions to clarify your understanding as well as to demonstrate interest in what's being said. The last one here, paraphrase. You don't have any specific question to ask. You may want to repeat back to the speaker in your own words what you have taken away in order to allow the speaker to clarify any points. So you can put in your own words what they're saying to make sure that you understand that. Now, you said this to me. Now, let me make sure I understand what you're saying. You were saying you express whatever viewpoint it is so they understand. Now, here's the tricky thing, perception. We have barriers to accurate perception. Now, let me see how I can make this simple. let's look at it this way. Attitudes are perceptions. Say, for example, I come to you and I say, okay, I just like who you are. And every time I see you, each time I see you, I'm gonna give you $100. So guess what? What you gonna do? You gonna make your business see me, ain't you? Right. But the moment I don't do that, guess what? Well, you said, right, there you go. So now you have a bad what? Attitude or perception of me now. Based upon, because what? Trust was what? My actions and words didn't match. So I would give them perception. Now, here's some just general things across the board here. Stereotyping and generalizing. Be careful not to hold on to preconceptions about people or things. We often have a tendency to see what we want to see. Forming an impression from a small amount of information or was experienced and assuming that to be highly representative of the whole person or situation. Just because, okay, let's bring it home. Just because somebody might have did one little bad thing and most people didn't want to see. Now, guess what? Or you think bad about that person now. Now realize that person might have had a day, it was long, but boy, they went left. Boy, when they did left, boy, look here. You got to worry about me saying, that's he was saying. As the young kids said, we done. We done. So we got to be careful with that. Because we'll do that.
Yeah, there's very much danger, possibly in that.
It's very much dangerous stereotype.
I might be relishing that for who knows how long. And the person bypassed that and gone. This is like two fellows, the Muslims, they were not to touch women. And it's told in the story about one of the books that had on the whole brain thinking and whole brain worship. That two boys walking along, and here's a girl who walked through the pathway, and she had no access across the water. And so the two fellows saw her, the dilemma, one of them just lifted her up and carried her over. And when we got on the other side, the other boy was agitated because he picked this woman up and it was against their culture. And then after we walked in, he kept pestering her because we were not supposed to touch that woman. You're not supposed to touch the woman. But he said, man, I put that woman down the way back there. You still carrying her.
Good point. And here's another example of generalizations that happen sometimes, especially in relationships. You may say, you know what? All men are dogs. But that's an example that, trust me, I have people who have said that. All ain't about nothing. Okay? Just take examples. All right. Not investing time. Making assumptions or ignoring details and circumstances that can lead to misconceptions. When we fail to look in depth for causes and circumstances, we miss important details and do not allow for complexity of the situation. In other words, we don't spend enough time with each other. Just basically conversing.
And in actuality, sometimes we don't even spend enough time with a person to even generalize. If you don't know that person, and there's no way that you have to build relationships with people to know them. If you don't know that person and you say hello to them and they don't say hello back, you just gotta think. You can't be friends with everybody. And it's just something you gotta accept. It is nothing. It really isn't.
Negativity bias. Focus on the negative aspects of the conversation or situation situation is a habit common to many people. Even though we may recognize the positive things, we often give more weight to the negative, allowing one negative comment to overshadow numerous positive ones. Well, like I said, one thing is blow up. Assuming similar interpretations, not everyone will draw the same conclusion for a given situation or set preference. Yes, ma'am. Go ahead. I forgot that.
I wanted to touch on what you said. Sometimes as Christians we're in a conversation and it's all negative, so and so happened and that negative stuff, and then you go, but God is good. The negative stuff has already no matter what you say after that. So I think as far as that kind of communication, is let your problems be God centered. Talk about God first. I think a lot of times we fall into that pattern sometimes.
Well, that happens a whole lot in conversations among the brother. You get into this, whatever, and then, like you said, at the end, instead of saying, hey, you know what, why don't we sit there and pray for that person?
Yeah.
Seriously, and don't be lighted with that. You just know what, hey, we need to both of us see a brother struggling, and instead of us talking about it, let's go ahead and go pray. Let's pray right now for him.
Just that,
Yeah. We see that, let's pray for him right now. You got a question?
I wanted to read something that I took a screenshot. I was watching a sermon between services, and I took a screenshot of something that somebody was saying today in a sermon. And I can't remember what it said on the previous ones, but in talking about what we're talking about now, the reason that I say what I say is that if we cannot know that a subject is true, we have to neglect that. Ellen White says, the reason that we hold on to things is that we seldom see or feel our own faults. For we have had all they could do to watch the faults of others. She went on to say that all the religion of a few poor souls have is to watch the acts of others and find fault with them. What if we didn't do that? Our communication would be better. Because we would look to ourselves instead of looking outward. But she said, we seldom see the faults in ourselves because we're just not capable of doing it. It's easier to see the faults of others.
Well, I take that one step deeper. The reason why we can see the faults of others is because we do the same thing.
It's like looking in a mirror.
We do the exact same thing. That's why we point it out. Yes, ma'am.
When I go to school, and I would enter the staff, the teacher's lounge, and there are times I go and I'll say good morning, and I realize, I'm speaking loudly because I'm a person, but I realize that sometimes some people won't respond. And I was thinking that I'm sure I'm loud enough, but I just move on. And then another teacher and I were speaking, and she was saying, something is wrong because when she said, another international teacher, when she said good morning, sometimes they don't respond either. So I'm thinking that, okay, maybe it's the culture. But in having this big culture, people have their own home culture, right? Mm-hmm. Because there are other American teachers, when I step in the teacher's lounge and I say good morning, they say good morning. So I realize it's not like, what do they call it? It's a country culture. Maybe it has to do with personally how they were grown up in their own homes or something like that. Because even though if I step in and the same person again say good morning, you really don't need to respond. I don't know.
Yes, ma'am.
Sometimes, and you can pick it up, especially if you notice, it's just pure jealousy. I'm jealous because you got an award. I'm jealous because you're a good teacher. I'm jealous because your children are better than mine. I'm jealous because whatever, you don't have no idea about it. You have no idea what that is in their lives. So they don't speak. And like what Jeanette said, so they don't speak because of that jealousy. There you go.
And I don't care if a person speaks to me or not. What I'm concerned about is if I broke cut down on the side of the road, will you stop and help me? That's what I'm concerned about. I don't care what else do. Even in the church, you're not going to, a lot of people don't like me with this comment, and so I've been chided for it. But God never told us we had to like everybody. He said we had to love everybody. If I know that you are in need, what am I going to do for you? Now, if I say I'm not going to do anything for that person because I don't like them, that is where we're working on our souls. We're working on our mansion in the sky. But there may be characteristics about a person that how can two men walk together except they agree? But whether I agree with you or not, will I give you a piece of bread when you're hungry? And I think a lot of times with our communications, we get so stuck on the small things. Whether a person spoke to me or not, I could care less. What will you do for me when I'm sitting out there on fire and you're holding the bucket of water? Will you put me out? That's what I'm concerned about. And I promise you, when I said, y'all continue to pray for Sister Jeanette, those are the kind of things, because you guys, some of the things that we worry about are just too small to be worried about. They're too small, but they will keep us out of the kingdom.
Church family, listen, good morning, church family.
And that comes from directly from Ellen White. She said it.
Neighbors must say good morning.
I think it's a choice. I don't think it's cultural. I think it's a choice.
It's a
These
choice.
are adults, and I'm looking at you and I'm saying, good morning. You choose not to answer. I think it's a choice. And I have been to New York most of my time spent in New York. When I come here, I have a proper culture shock because everybody is like, good morning, ma'am, how are you? You're passing another car on the road in the country and people are waving at you. And every time they says to me, you know that person? Or I'm smiling and waving back because I see it coming. That's the culture. That is the main culture here in South Carolina. You have some people maybe are outside of school. You have some people they just choose not to answer, and you have some people they turn their noses up at you because you're from a third world country or you're just an outsider. So I think it's a choice, and saying that you don't hear if a person answers or speaks to you, that's fine. That's well done, but it still goes back to what the person makes you feel. For 1 year, I've been saying hello to one coworker. And I've been walking with another person in her department and she says hello to that person, or that person says hello to her and she doesn't answer me. And then one day she just says hi. I didn't answer her.
Ellen White said, Ellen White said, unless we reform, there will be no place in heaven for us. For with this spirit, they would find fault with Jesus and angels. If that lady spoke to me, I would think kind of like sideways, and I may not say the words, but I might would wave. But we have to reform. We don't have, even if that lady never spoke to you for a year, if she decided all of a sudden, we don't know, sister, if that person might have gotten saved that day before, and they realized that what they were doing to you was wrong, and they said, I got saved yesterday, now I know I'm supposed to speak. Now that she's speaking, have a conversation. We must
She just says hi, just out of the blue. I was so taken aback.
She might have gotten saved yesterday. Before she was just a big devil. We can't take those things for granted.
Can you explain what the word reformation means? Paul makes it clear.
Talk in such a way now that I can understand. Don't get scholar.
There are two words, revival and reformation. Revival is conversion, but reformation is walking with Christ daily, every impediments in my life that I brought from history or gained from others that disprove what God says, or concept what God said. Paul said, that dying daily. Every revelation, every discovery, every revelation, that's why I see the revival and reformation must win. When one is separated, it negates the others. It cancels out the others. That's what Jesus did with the disciples.
I didn't say that.
They did not reform.
Let's go back to
and then they were completely absent from the world. And this is really the problem. Let's
bring it home. She brought an excellent point.
Yes.
Okay, you're talking about a whole year. Now, that any human person is going to feel a certain way. I don't care who you are. That's just you as a human being.
Yes.
Okay? And now that person comes in, I'll be taken away too. But at the same token, I gotta take a step back and I gotta say, wait a minute. She speaks in it, let me just recognize it, and then they may engage in something else and they go elsewhere. But that's a hard thing. When somebody goes and you go a whole year, that means that you have to have the faith of the saints here. You've been doing that, and then now there's something else. Hey, I mean, all your points are valid. All the points are valid. So, but let's really bring it practical. Okay, you know what? I don't care where it is, whatever the case may be, it's got to be where they are.
Yes, right. And there's no judgment here. Christ gives us the solution in times of ignorance. God does not condemn us for that, but He calls all of us to the light, and that's what it means. A constant dying of self. Those old deeply entrenched practices and habits that our grandparents, great-grandparents, and they didn't understand. They were darkness. But now Jesus says there's no excuse because we're in the light. And God forgive us for even errors we made in ignorance, not knowing. And that's what it means, a constant surrender, every revelation.
Let me get this last point here. Experiencing incongruent cues. As speakers and as listeners, we are constantly and simultaneously sending cues and receiving them from other people. Try to be consistent with your verbal cues and your body language. Don't say one thing and express something else through your body language. Be aware of how your nonverbal communication relates to your spoken words. If someone else seems to be sending a double message by saying one thing and expressing something else in their body language, ask for clarification.
That's the one I believe, the body language. That's what I believe. Not your words, it's the body language I want.
Yeah, because you got to realize, even science proves this, your body language speaks more than your words.
But we need to be careful though.
Yes.
You need to understand where that person is coming from and don't misinterpret the body language.
That's why the last question is ask for clarification. Say, hey, I want you to talk to me, but I appreciate it, and your name is, and
or simply, we talked about this in a Sabbath school lesson. I'm going to talk to you like this. We're very comfortable. And I'm going to talk to you like this. You should ask, are you upset with me? And I'm more like, no, my hands are just tired. I just feel comfortable. See, I think it's a cultural norm for me. So that's what I want to say. Folding your arms. We also have to be careful, especially if you see it in a woman. We might be dealing with a lack of woman. So I just want to be careful when we talk about the body language. Of course, there are things that rolling of the eyes is just a given. You don't look at you and you look at where are they from, which part of the world. It's not that they're disrespecting. So honestly,
that's the last person. Ask for clarification.
Yeah, ask for that.
Yeah, you gotta engage, and you can find a simple words to say. Well, we want to appreciate what's your name, and even though they might know your name, but still ask them what their name. So you gotta engage so you can figure out so you can build a level of comfort.
Yeah, and even just finally, even if we don't know the person where they're coming from, in the circumstances, in the immediate circumstances, it allows us to know about the person and where they're coming from at that point, but give them the advantage because we are not certain.
Give them the benefit of the doubt. Yes.
Right.
Exactly. Now, the strategies for accurate reception Analyze your own perception. Question your perception and think about how they are formed. Check in with others around you regularly and be aware of assumptions that you are making. Seek additional information and observation. You may just need to ask people if their perceptions are accurate. Okay? We're going to improve your perception. Increase your awareness of barriers to perception, which ones you tend toward. Check in with yourself regularly. Seek honest and constructive feedback from others regarding your perceptions of you as a means of increasing your own self-awareness. In other words, I strongly recommend like every 6 months, sit down with yourself. Okay, if I said, I'm supposed to be working on this, have I done this? No, seriously, I strongly recommend at least every 6 months. You sit down with yourself, you yourself and God, how do you want to look at? Seriously, and look at where you are with yourself. I like one of those counselors, I used to tell people all the time, you either have 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, 180 days, and year goals.
Something to do.
And then you write them down and go back and check 6 months and make a check. Okay, have I done that? I haven't done that. I did it. Where I'm at. Yes, ma'am.
So I'm not disagreeing with you, but if we want to stick with the Bible says work out your own soul salvation, and that takes 24 hours, 7 days a week, 365 days a year, 366 on a leap year. Because if you check in with yourself every 6 months, maybe you can do it overall, but we need to check in with ourselves every second of the day.
But I'm just saying as it relates to just goals and just, But from a spiritual level, that's like every moment by moment, every minute. Okay. But
let's work on that, work at your own salvation. That it be not misunderstood. God gave us a plan for everything in our life. And this working out of salvation is according to the plan, not according to my judgment. Go according to the plan that He's prescriptive He's already given. And God says, here's a guide, follow it. That's working out our salvation.
All right, last point here. Focus on others. Develop your ability to focus on other people and understand them better by trying to gather knowledge about them, listening to them actively, and imagining how you would feel in their situation. Just be empathetic. Look at if I was wearing their shoes, or am I on their shoes, how would I feel? Sometimes it's like, you could have helped me and bought me to do that. But we got to it's just the thinking process sometimes. That's why I want people to say the first thing that comes to your mind. Because it may not be accurate or perceived. It could be perceived totally wrong. Take a step back. Survey the scene. See what's going on before you just jump right into it. Because sometimes you might be saying this unfortunately already in pain. Or not getting your feelings hurt. Okay? Alright, last point here. Verbal communication barriers to effective communication. Always look lacking clarity. Avoid abstracts, informal, and colonialism jargon, which obscure your message more than serve to impress people. Using stereotypes and generalizations. Speakers who make unqualified generalizations undermine their own clarity and credibility. Be careful not to get stuck in the habit of using stereotypes and generalizations about complex systems or situations. Another form of generalization is polarizing or creating extremes. Try to be sensitive to the complexities of situations rather than viewing the world in black and white. Jumping to conclusion. Confusing facts with inferences is commonly a common tendency. Do not assume that you know the reason behind events that certain facts necessarily have certain implications. Be sure you have all the information you can get and then speak clearly about the facts versus the meaning or interpretations you attach to those. Dysfunctional responses. Ignoring or not responding to a comment or a question quickly undermines effective communication. Likewise, responding with an irrelevant comment one that isn't connected to the topic at hand will squash genuine communication, interrupting others while they are speaking, also creates a poor environment for communication. Lacking confidence. Lacking confidence can be a major barrier to effective communication. Shyness, difficulty being assertive, or low self-worth can hinder your ability to make your needs and opinions known. Also, the lack of awareness of your own rights and opportunities in a given situation can prevent you from expressing your own needs openly. Everyone has a right to be assertive, but you have to exercise. It's like any muscle.
Not aggressive, assertive.
Yeah, it's the balance. All right. Here's a whole key move right here. Focus on the issue as it relates to strategy of effective verbal communication. Focus on the issue, not the person. This is the number one thing that people get wrong, man. And attack the character of the person.
And that's all.
Let me get that ready because you're laughing. I must have hit that. Did I hit the tipping box there?
Can we go back to the other slide?
And my appreciation for that you just made is staying in your lane, and you will never have an accident. Everyone is in their own lane. Not mental, but spiritual.
Okay. Yes, ma'am. Which one I hit the tipping box?
Emotional responses. Ignoring or not responding to a comment or question quickly undermines effective communication. I'm laughing because I was just saying to Homer, normally when I respond, I talk about myself because I can't talk about anybody else. So, Homer has a tendency to not respond quickly though, okay?
For you.
Right. So, when I pointed it out to him just now, he said, how quickly is quickly?
Quickly for him could be the end of the day.
That is the reason why I'm here.
Yeah.
And I'm telling him, your responses are emotional because see, you don't respond quickly enough. And he's like, what the hell? How quickly is quickly?
But think about it. To his defense, he asked you. Some things that now you have to give a response to that. So you expecting the joke loose and bounce when so that's what you're saying. You said you would text, you better respond right back to text.
Yes.
Okay, all right.
He ain't gonna do it.
I know.
He's about to midnight.
I know. I'm talking we're having a conversation, right? And I'm saying, Homer, such and such. I'm done talking and I'm waiting for his response. And I'm standing there and I say, Homer. He's like, yeah, I'm thinking.
Okay, well, hey, let's pray for the brother and help him to realize that, when your wife responds to you, don't try to be like Domino's 30 minutes or less.
That's a teaching time. Here's the pattern. Wife, early on in our marriage, she would ask questions and I don't give a response. And years later, she asked why. Because I'm processing it. And I'm processing it. And at the appropriate time, I will give her the answer. At the appropriate time.
No.
So she knows. So she knows if she asks me something, and I'm looking ahead, I'm looking all around like I'm driving, looking in every direction, and sometimes necessitate a little time. Other times, you can give immediate answers.
Well, you better be telling me, honey, how long do I have?
Right?
To be a fair compromise, let's say, hey, you got to give up. Here's the thing I think of. Don't ever create a problem without a solution. In other words, if you say whatever, if you can respond in the next 10, 15 minutes, that sets a time limit. Versus saying the end of the day at midnight, or whatever the case could be. So, the reason why I say that is A, it's measurable. B, you're trying to set an expectation. And then C, most importantly, you're trying to continue to further enhance the relationship. So say if you can get as much as you can between 15, I'll let you be the judge of that. But so he can understand, because if you don't, what's going to happen is that when I say something really important, and like, okay, he didn't respond, and he responds the next day, and when I get home, I saw it, and you followed up with Clarence saying, I was processing.
Or you do it yourself.
Right.
Stop
And
being
then
the hero.
right.
If you want to continue to be the hero and not the hero,
And then
you answer me.
you didn't ask me. So then now you got a whole argument. See? So sometimes you gotta find the nuances and the balances to be able to look at that.
It's a process of learning each other.
Now this goes right to you right there. Be flexible towards others. Okay? Allow for other points of view. Be open to other ways of doing things. Diversity creates creativity and innovation. So bend your flex is how much you're willing to bend. I didn't say break, I said bend.
I didn't beg you alone.
Well, don't get to the point to break, but seriously, in relationships, we do need to set realistic values on one another.
Yes, you do.
You do.
And here's another one to add to that.
So you about to get you in trouble. See?
And there's a link. There's a link very often when men, wife is at home, and she is, raising a family, and he's out working. Well, he comes home from work, and there's a link here. He comes home from work, she asks him, how was your day? He says, okay. Now, this is education on both sides. But that's not what she's asking. He have to learn that. That's not. She is asking him to his daily activities. He may say, okay, he may get the paper and start reading, but he has to learn that she is a different person, and her emotions are different. She wants to engage about his welfare or the lack of throughout the day. And so he should preserve particular availability to respond to her because she's a different creature. Follow what I'm saying? Men and women are totally different. It is true. So he has to melt into her environment, and she has to melt into his. That's part of the marriage counseling.
All right, let's look at a couple of things here. Value yourself and your own experiences. Be firm about your own rights and needs. Undervalue yourself. Encourage others to undervalue you too. Offer your ideas and expect to be treated well. Use affirming responses. Respond to the other in a way that acknowledges their experiences. Thank them for their input. Affirm their rights and their feelings. Even if you disagree. Ask questions, express positive feelings, and provide positive feedback when you can. I still want to go back to this, empathize rather than remain detached. Although professional relationships entail some boundaries when it comes to interaction with colleagues, it's important to demonstrate sensitivity and to really care about the people you work with. If you don't care about them, it'll be difficult for them to care about you when it comes to working together.
And by the way, Homer hears what will happen. Even she'll hate to see you leave, and even will question you, where you going? Every time you're on your shoes, where you going? When you understand that, that's part of it. Then you calm with your control. She's just showing you that she is in love with you. And all of that. And she wants more detail. That's a part of her.
Well, he whipping that all over with his.
We merge grew into one another.
Don't look at this. All right. And you got any other question or comments, you guys can definitely email me. Yeah, exactly. If you want you want to email me, that's fine. This is my next discussion. I really want to kind of hit a little more home. And if you got any ideas or whatever, that's just email me or just catch us inside of it. But my next topic I really want to discuss about is kind of important. I want to look at how we handle guilt.
How you do what?
How you handle guilt.
Guilt.
Yeah, because can take you through guilt trips. And I want to discuss that and how, even in the church family, sometimes people continue to guilt. And how to be able to really effectively deal with it. And from other people and, this family members. But yeah, that's my next discussion I really want to get into, how to handle guilt. Because, say again? Say again?
Yeah, say.
I just go home and cry, and after that, I'm like, whatever.
I really want you to do that. Like I said, we'll be praying, moving forward on that and working on that. Okay? All right. Again, I really appreciate your time because again, I know kind of. But I really like is the fact that we can really engage and have really one true dialogue about things because these things are important as it relates to our own individuality, even in church family, even our salvation. And these things are important for us to really consider how we communicate because the thing is that we don't realize that, as the Bible said, we might be imitating angels, how we communicate with someone. And we want to be able to have the right spirit when we get out of it. Really do. And I'm hoping that I answered your question. That's the most important. Did I really answer your question?